talking all about how to create a calorie deficit. And I'm also going to talk about a few hunger hacks that you can utilize whenever you're eating in a calorie deficit, right? And maybe if you are the person who's kind of like a chronic overeater and you're kind of trying to cut back your calories, how you can manage your hunger when you're eating in a calorie deficit. So, um, I always say this, but I'm really going to try and keep this to 30 minutes or less. And so, as I was writing this out, like my notes for what I'm going to talk about today, I was like, ooh, like there's so many like things that I could get into. What I'm going to try to do is keep this as simple as possible. I'm going to give you my kind of synopsis on um, the foundation of understanding that you have to talk about to have this conversation. So, what a calorie is, right? And then what a calorie deficit is, and then go on from there because y'all asked some great questions in the Facebook group. So I definitely want to make sure I get to your questions. So I'm going to talk about the foundations, give you a as brief as I can explanation, and then I really want to dive into y'all's questions. So as you're hopping on, say hello. Let me move this out of the way. Let's see. Okay. All right. So we got Keisha from GA. We got Reba from Chicago. Sharon from Texas. Hello, Texas. I'm from Texas too. Hey, Demina. Darla. Hey, Paula. Camille. All right, y'all. If you're watching, say hello. If you watch the replay, hashtag replay, y'all. And if you have any questions as I'm going through here, I may not be able to get to all of them because y'all asked a lot of questions in the Facebook group, but I'll definitely circle back and get your questions answered. So, Darisha, am I saying your name correctly? I see you liking a lot of my stuff, so thank you. I appreciate you for following me. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna dig into this. So, first of all, we have to understand what a calorie is. So, what do y'all think a calorie is? This is what I want to know. What do you think a calorie is? Because the way we talk about calories is a little different. It's a little bit of a misnomer. We kind of talk about it in a strange way. So what do you actually think a calorie is? Let me know in the comments. I'm trying to toggle back and forth between all of these platforms. What is a calorie? A unit of energy. Energy. Yes, good job. Yes, so y'all, a calorie is just a unit of measurement. So it's kind of like if I were to say an inch, right? Like you know about how long an inch is, or a gigabyte, or a kilometer, right? It's just a unit of measurement of energy. So that first off, you have to understand what that is, right? So when I say calorie, it's just a unit of measurement to measure how much energy something has. And obviously, like when our plants get energy from the sun, right? And then when we eat that plant, right, we our body converts plants and other nutrients into energy, right? So we have to know that first. So when we talk about having a calorie deficit, it really means that, because I saw someone in the Facebook group earlier and they were like, I'm in a 1,400 calorie deficit. And I was like, do you mean you're eating 1,400 calories? So the way you want to look at it is this. Let's say I need 1,000 calories to maintain my own weight, right? And so what that means is your body has processes. Your heart is beating, your lungs are respirating and changing, oxygen and CO2, right? We're producing urine. Like all of these bodily processes need a certain amount of energy or calories, okay? And so if you were just comatose, if you were just laying in the bed you would still need a certain, like a baseline of calories, which is what we call our basal metabolic rate, or BMR. So your basal metabolic rate is how many calories your body would need if you were doing absolutely nothing. So when we talk about our total energy that we need, right? Because we are not just in the bed laying down, we are up, hopefully walking, we're up working, you might do a workout, just walking around the house, right? You're using more energy than just what you would need if you were laying in bed. So the totality of that, the amount of energy that you need just to maintain your bodily functions, plus the energy that you need to move around in the world and live, is your total energy expenditure. And that is the total amount of calories that you need. So that is going to vary. And this is why this is real tricky, because I could say, okay, I need 2,000 calories. But every day, the amount of calories that I need actually fluctuates just a little bit. But for simplicity's sake, let's say I need 2,000 calories to maintain my body right now. When you eat in a calorie deficit, this means that I'm not going to give my body 2,000 calories. I'm going to give my body less than 2,000 calories. So technically, if my body needs 2,000 calories, 1,900 calories, if I'm giving my body 1,900 calories daily, that's a calorie deficit. It's a calorie deficit of 100 calories, right? If I give my body 1,500 calories instead of 2,000 daily, that's a calorie deficit of 500 calories every day, right? Are we following me so far? Y'all let me know. Let me check the chats real quick. Hey, Shannon. Hey, Merlinda. Or Merlinda? Merlinda? I'm bad with names, y'all. Thank you for watching, though. Let me check the chat. Okay. So if you're giving your body less calories than you actually need, you're eating in a calorie deficit. So the thing about the calorie deficit is this. Have y'all ever heard that it takes 3,500 calorie deficit to lose 1 pound of fat? Have y'all ever heard that? If you have not heard that, put me in the chat. Regina says yes, she's following. Kimberly says yes, she's following. Okay. Have y'all heard that it takes 3,500 calorie deficit in order to lose 1 pound of fat? Yeah, I'm going to get to your question, Tina. So most of us have heard this. Brianna says yes. Keisha says yes. Oh, Nicole says no. Okay. Charlotta says me. Sonia. All right. Regina. All right, Tracy. So most of us have heard, Paula says yes, most of us have heard that it takes 3,500 calorie deficit in order to lose 1 pound of fat. So that means if my body needs 2,000 calories to maintain my current weight, but I only give my body 1,500, right? I'm giving my body 1,500, but it needs 2,000. Your body's saying, okay, where is my other 500 calories? It takes that calories from your fat, right? So if you don't give your body the amount of calories that it needs to maintain your current weight, it will take it from your fat stores. So fat stores are only stored energy. That's it, right? So let's say my body needs 2,000 calories, but I'm eating 2,500 daily, right? Your body doesn't need that much, right? So after your body stores up on glycogen, which is its stored version of carbohydrates in your body, after it stores up glycogen, it doesn't need any more. So it's like, okay, well, we're going to take this energy, we're going to store it as fat for later. Okay. It kind of puts it in the pantry. So that's eating in a calorie surplus. So those of you who are wanting to gain muscle or just to gain weight in general, you want to eat more calories than your body actually needs. Okay. So eating in a calorie deficit can be a little bit tricky. Okay. Because your body technically needs a little bit, like the calorie range that you need every day fluctuates just a little bit. And even when you're tracking in something like MyFitnessPal, the calories that you're actually ingesting changes every day, right? Even if you're weighing out your food, even if you're looking at nutrition labels, right? So one apple doesn't always have 70 calories, right? Like you can find an apple in MyFitnessPal, but every apple doesn't have the exact same amount of calories. So it's all a guesstimate. It's all an estimate. And that's what can be kind of frustrating, because I know, like, for you ladies who are actually tracking your calories, you're like, hey, I'm tracking my calories according to what this equation says, right? So if you put your information in MyFitnessPal, it just calculates an equation and spits out the best guesstimate. So you have to understand that when you're doing equation, I don't care what equation you use. You can look up Mifflin St. George. You can look up the Hamway equation. You can look up, all these different equations, right, that people have generated. They're all estimates. What is going to determine what is correct or not is your body. Your body is going to tell you whether or not you're in a calorie deficit. So let me check the chat real quick. We just talked about this yesterday. Yep. Okay. How do you know? Okay. I'm going to answer that question too. Okay. So when you give your body less calories than it needs, again, it's going to try to find where those extra calories are because it needs it. So it takes it from your fat. Okay. So this happens over time. Okay. Weight loss happens over time. So you have to consistently, because a lot of you, what happens is in real life, because I coach some of y'all, what happens is you start out real pumped on Monday, right? You're like, yes, girl, I'm about to do this calorie deficit. I'm about to eat right. Tuesday come, Wednesday, Thursday, you start to slip. Friday, you eat a little bit more calories. Then Saturday and Sunday is just off the rail. Right. And so even if you ate in a calorie deficit good Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, if you overeat at the end of the week, especially on the weekend, a lot of times you can eat up that calorie deficit that you had in the beginning of the week. And so you gain or lose weight over the long term, y'all. So sometimes when you go out and you eat, and let me know if you've ever done this. If you've ever done this, put it in the chat. Say me in the chat. You overeat one day and then you get on the scale the next day to try and see if the scale moved. If this is you, say me in the chat. Okay, because I know that some of y'all have done this. And when I hear my clients say this, it means that they don't quite understand that you would literally have to eat at least 3,500 calories more than your body needs. And you probably didn't do that, right? So let me check the chat. Yep. Shannon says me. Yep. Tina says me. Chancy, girl, me, what? Hopefully I'm doing that no more. It doesn't work like that, y'all. If you overeat one day, you're not going to see that on the scale the next day. It's a rolling. It basically, the way that what you weigh right now is mostly determined by like how you've eaten over the last 7 days or the last several days. Okay. So picture this. Okay. You have a week. A week is 7 days. So I'm going to do some math with y'all. Okay. So stay with me. A week is 7 days. Okay. Let's say your body needs 2,000 calories, but you are giving your body only 1,500. So that's a calorie deficit of 500 each day for 7 days. Okay. So 500 calories less each day for 7 days would technically give you 3,500 calorie deficit to lose 1 pound. Okay. Here's the caveat with this. Number one, you have to actually give your body 500 calories less. So when we have that piece of cake or we have some extra alcohol, right? Then maybe on one day you don't get the 500 calorie deficit. Maybe you eat right at 2,000 calories one day. Well, you're not going to see the scale move a whole pound. You might see it move 0.8, right? But we don't really even count that, right? Like we don't count those wins. We don't count point something. We want to see at least 1 pound gone or 2 pounds gone, right? So sometimes y'all are actually making progress. Maybe you are eating in a calorie deficit most days. Maybe 6 days out of the week you're eating in calorie deficit, and then one day you don't. So that means you won't see a whole pound off, but you're still making progress. Why? Because if you did that same exact thing the next week and ate in a calorie deficit for 6 days and maybe overate a little bit on the 7th day, you would lose a pound like every 2 weeks. But because we want fast results, we don't see the whole pound that first week and we freak out and think that we're doing something wrong, right? And that's just the basic scenario. Like literally, that's one of the reasons why if you see bodybuilders and they weigh all their food and they eat the same thing for the consistency's sake, so that they know as accurately as possible how many calories that they're eating. But we're not doing that typically. Most of us are not doing that, right? We're trying to eat in a healthy way. So that 500 calorie deficit, it's really fluctuating every day, right? So maybe you get to 450 one day, maybe you did 400 less. The next day, maybe you do 300 less the next time, right? So think about in a 7-day period, if you're not quite getting 500 calorie deficit each time, you're not going to see a whole pound in a week. It might take you 2 or 3 weeks to see that 1 pound. Is this making sense? But I want you to note that you're still making progress. That's why you have to just keep going, right? Sometimes we're making a problem out of no problem. When maybe the weight loss is going a lot slower than you thought or a lot slower than you wanted, but you're still making progress. So let me check the chat. Is that why we should weigh weekly only? I definitely think as long as you don't have a lot of mind drama or self-loathing, as long as you don't mentally beat yourself up about the scale. Like my clients who do that, I don't weigh them weekly, but I definitely think that weighing weekly, it gives you information on the trend, right, that you're going in, right? So I definitely would say that you should weigh every week. Katrina, are you confused? Let me know. Let me know what your question is. Guilty as charged. Me. Yep. Right. So, y'all, do not just weigh yourself one day because you overate the next day. Don't make it a problem. Okay? Don't make it a problem. Just keep on going. So, to get to that calorie deficit, y'all, when y'all lose 1 pound, you have done a lot of work because it takes real consistency, not perfection, but it takes some consistency. 500 calories less every single day. And again, if you're not getting to a whole 500 calories every day, then you're not going to see progress as fast, but you're still making progress. It might take you a lot longer to lose that to lose that 1 pound. Okay. So when you're eating in a calorie deficit, it means that your body needs a certain amount of calories, but you're giving it less. So it takes those calories and uses that energy from the fat that's stored on your body. Okay. So, how do we create the calorie deficit? We create a calorie deficit by one, eating less calories. That's one way, right? So if your body needs 2,000 calories, I'm only going to give it 1,500, or did I say the right words? If your body needs 2,000 calories, you're only giving it 1,500. You're creating a 500 calorie deficit each day, right? Then that's one way. Another way is to use up more energy or more calories. So move your body more. So now your body is actually using more calories throughout the day. How do we do that? We do that through exercise. And ladies, we do that through general movement every day. Please do not sleep on just moving your body more often. It's actually more important that you move your body more often than it is that you get in some hard workout 4 times a week or 3 times a week. Did you know that? Because a lot of us, we want to get in our workout, but then after our workout's done, we're sedentary and we sit around and don't move a lot. So our non-exercise activity can account for more than double of the calories burned compared to your exercise. So think about a 1 hour workout. That's great, but how much calories are you burning outside of that workout? So that's one of the reasons why it's great to count your steps and get that 10,000 steps in or close to it daily with your Fitbit or your step counter, right? Because general movement, it's easier to maintain, it's easier to do, and it's actually more impactful than trying to kill yourself for an hour in a workout. Okay. So how do we create that calorie deficit? We eat less calories and or we burn more calories from our body each day. Okay. So here are some tips on how we can actually eat in a calorie deficit. So someone mentioned MyFitnessPal earlier. MyFitnessPal is one of the many ways that you can calculate how many calories you need a day. Okay. It is an estimate. All of the equations are an estimate. Okay. So what you do, you put in the parameters, you make your profile on MyFitnessPal and you say, okay, you're going to track your food according to your MyFitnessPal calories. Don't add back in your exercise calories. I know it hooks up to the Fitbit and it'll add back your calories, but I wouldn't do that if I were you. So as you're tracking your food daily, number one, this is a pro tip, plan out your meal. This is what I would do if I'm using MyFitnessPal. I would take a Saturday and just plan out what I'm going to have and have some leftovers. I would plan out my meal in MyFitnessPal. I plan out my whole week in MyFitnessPal. So you'd make a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then swipe over and then make another breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then swipe over and make another breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so that you already know that, okay, if I go get these groceries, I know exactly what I'm going to eat, and you eat from that plan. Versus a lot of times people will just like, for breakfast will come up, okay, they'll put in what they have for breakfast. And then when lunch comes up, they put on what they had for lunch. And then at the end of the day, they need more protein. They're over on carbs, and it's like too late to fix it. Right? So you can use a calculator like that, MyFitnessPal, track your foods, but I would plan it in MyFitnessPal and eat from there. Weigh yourself every week and see how your body is responding. But you have to account for the extra bites when you're, feeding your kids and you're taking those extra bites from their food, all of the calories that you get from beverages, if you're having alcohol, etc. You got to put all of that stuff in. All right, let me see what the chat says. Okay, exactly. Why I weigh myself once a month along with my measure, because that can stress me out. Yeah. So Zakia, if you're one of those people who are like, I can't weigh myself every day, what I would do, if you have mind drama about the scale, hyper focus on tracking your habits. Track your water. Am I getting in the amount of water I'm supposed to get in every day? And use a habit tracker, either an app or just a paper one, and focus on your habits more than you focus on the outcome, and you'll get there. Okay. So how do we know we're eating the right amount of calories in a deficit? So number one, you have to be tracking your calories. Now, for some people, tracking your calories is actually kind of overwhelming. MyFitnessPal is a little bit overwhelming. And if you don't have a lot of mind drama about the pace at which you're going, you can still get there. But if you're not tracking your calories, you're kind of just guessing. So tracking your calories is going to be the best way for you to make sure that, okay, I'm actually eating what MyFitnessPal says. Because when you put your information in MyFitnessPal, it'll tell you how many calories you need. It'll already calculate your calorie deficit and tell you how many calories that you should be eating. And then you just weigh yourself accordingly. So after 1 week of calorie deficit, do we keep increasing the deficit? No. I would absolutely wait at least 2 weeks, because there's so many variables. Again, your body burns different amount of calories every day. Even when you're tracking, sometimes it's not super duper accurate. So you may thought that you ate 500 calories less every day, but you may not have, because even on the nutrition labels, I hate to tell y'all this, but even on the nutrition labels, they can be legally up to 20% off. Like they can be 20% off as far as like incorrect, like the calorie level. So we're kind of guessing a little bit, but it's our best guesstimate. So I would wait at least 2 weeks, Shanice. So don't add the calories burned back while working out. No, Sonia, I would not. I write my meals in a note for the following week, then grocery shop from the list and make the recipe in MyFitnessPal. Yeah, so I think you're saying the right thing. Like I'm saying on a Saturday, I guess, whatever, plan out your meals and say, okay, I'm going to have this, this, and this for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, maybe Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I'm going to have this breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you can plan it out ahead of time. And then you already know what groceries to buy and how much to eat because you've already planned it out. So how do we know if it's muscle gain? You have to be tracking your body fat percentage, and your some of the scales will also give you like muscle, your skeletal muscle too. It doesn't matter that much if it's like super accurate. It just matters the trend. So it takes a long time, y'all, to build muscle. So don't give up. You got to be real patient. If you're one of the ones that want muscle gain, you have to be patient, like 3 to 6 months patient for muscle gain. Okay. So Google calorie information is highly inaccurate too. Your body is going to tell you whether or not you're in a calorie deficit. So this is what I do with my clients. I have them find multiple ways to find a win because the scale is going to do its thing. I have them do a fit test. So every 4 weeks, they'll do, 4 different exercises to see how many they can get in a week, in a minute. So every 4 weeks, we'll do that so that they can see, okay, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting faster. We do progress photos. We do measurements. We find as many ways as you can to find a win because the scale doesn't tell the whole story. This is pretty cool. Wish I wasn't late to the party. It will be recorded so you can watch the beginning. How do we know if it's water weight loss? That's a really good question, AJ. So number one, you can tell, first of all, your weight's going to fluctuate, period. Expect that your weight is going to fluctuate. If you have a scale that will tell you the amount of water you have, you can trend that. But if you are truly in a calorie deficit, you will continue to see that scale just kind of just inch down just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. With water weight, like if you weigh yourself in the morning and you weigh yourself in the evening, likely it's going to be several pounds off. And that's okay because it's not fat, y'all. Remember, it's not fat. But the only way to really know is if you're tracking your calories and if you're trending your weight. And so the trend of your weight is more important than like a scale weight from the morning until an evening weight. How do you factor calorie burning from workout? I wouldn't, Kimberly. I would not add back in my calories. Thoughts on a DEXA scan? I think those are accurate. They're not that accessible to people. And I don't think, unless you just really want to know, I think it's interesting to know, but we're like, most people aren't going to go get a DEXA scan every week or every month. Just get you a good scale, work on your mindset around, seeing those numbers, educate yourself on what those numbers mean, focus more on your habits and on the process than you do the outcome. And you'll get there. I definitely would say that as far as like the scale is concerned, you just want to keep it all in perspective. Okay. Calories on machines are always wrong. Yeah. And the thing about it, Brianna, even if it's wrong, right? Like if you have a scale and it's off, as long as it's off by about the same amount every time, as long as you're trending it, meaning when I say trend, I mean like, okay, I'm taking it from week to week to week to week on the same scale, you can still see the trend because hopefully it'll be off about the same time every time, unless you just got a whack scale. Thoughts on intermittent fasting. So here's the thing about intermittent fasting. My thing is, if you are a breakfast eater and for whatever reason, you want to intermittent fast and you cut out breakfast, do you want to live that way? Do you want to never eat breakfast? Right? I've seen some feeding windows that are pretty reasonable, right? They stop eating at 6 p.m. and start eating at 9 a.m. That's that's regular, right? Like, there's nothing special about intermittent fasting. I want to say that. There's nothing special about it. It's just a way to cut out calories. So all the diets, keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, all the things, there's nothing special about those diets per se. It's just a way for you to cut out calories. It's a way for you to get that calorie deficit. That's it. So I've seen some feeding windows that are, sound pretty reasonable. You just have to decide if that's the way that you want to, because however you get to your scale weight is how you got to keep it too. Intermittent fasting makes me hangry. Yeah. For some people, it's just not the way that you want to continue to live your life. Okay. So a few other things that I want to say. So that actually puts me right where I wanted to talk about when you're eating in a calorie deficit, which means that you're giving your body less calories than it needs. We talked about the ways that you can do that. You can eat less calories. You can move your body more. So let's break down eat less calories. When you eat less calories, you can do a few things. One is eat foods that have less calories, right? So let's say you're typically eating a lot of fast food, you're eating out a lot. You can cook that same stuff at home, right? A burger at Burger King and a burger at home is likely going to be a lot different. You still having a burger, but you can decrease your calorie intake by cooking at home. Okay. You can also decrease the amount of calories that you're eating by comparing brands. So I was actually talking to a client who showed me a tortilla, and her tortilla was like looked like a larger tortilla. She sent me a picture of it. And it was only 50 calories. And I was like, oh, let me go look at my tortillas that I got in my pantry. And it was 150 calories. right? So you just checking the brands. Don't buy stuff that you don't like, right? But compare brands of two of the items that you actually like and buy the one with a better nutrient profile, right? So you want to look at your calories, your protein, your added sugar, things like that. But you can easily decrease the amount of calories that you're eating and eat the same or similar things by just checking the different brands, right? Even with bread, like you can look on MyFitnessPal, right? And you can see that a slice of bread, there's all kinds of calorie levels, right? When you go to the grocery store, if you were to look at the calories, you're like, oh, okay, I can actually shave off 50 calories by buying this bread versus this bread, right? So those are the ways that you can see. So when you go to the grocery store and you're buying that yogurt, turn it over and look and see how many calories this has, and then compare the brands and see how you can start shaving calories, eating the exact same things, essentially, right? Yogurt and yogurt, but you can shave off a few calories from what you're already eating. Another way that you can use your food to kind of create that calorie deficit is portions, right? So if you just took the portions that you're eating and decided, okay, I'm going to eat smaller portions of the foods that I'm already eating. And let's say I'm still hungry after. I always tell my clients they can have as many non-starchy veggies as they would like. So non-starchy veggies are things like broccoli, asparagus, tomatoes, Brussels sprouts, um, greens like kale, spinach. Like there's lots and lots of non-starchy vegetables that you can have. They're very, very low calorie, non-starchy vegetables. Okay. So let's say you reduce your calories and you decide, okay, I'm still hungry. Make sure you're drinking your water, right? And then if you're still hungry, you can go and have more of the non-starchy vegetables. Okay. So that's another way that you can use your food to create that calorie deficit. Another way that you can use the food to create that calorie deficit is frequency. So if you're a person who like eats breakfast and then eats a snack and then lunch and then eats a snack and then dinner and then eats a snack, right? You can cut your calories by taking out a snack or two, right? And so you have to make sure that your meals are more filling so that you're not really getting super hungry in between. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, but that's another way that you can create that calorie deficit just by your food. So there's multiple ways that you can create that calorie deficit. Okay, let me check the chat real quick. Are measurements on MyFitnessPal typically representative of cooked or uncooked portions? Actually, it'll say like with chicken, it'll say like cooked. Sometimes it'll say cooked or it'll say raw. The thing with MyFitnessPal is they have user entries. So a user can add stuff to the database, which may or may not be super accurate. And then they have the database from the USDA, which most of the apps get their information from. So you can usually just look up like cooked chicken or breast and then the ounces or the grams or whatever. So it should say sugar make itself stable. That was very interesting. It's low carb. Yep. Bread is full of sugar sometimes. So, Brianna, this is what I tell my clients for their breads, their grains, and things like that. 3 grams of fiber or more. That's just my general rule. So if you're eating tortillas, bread, I don't know, oatmeal is going to have at least 3, quinoa, brown rice or regular rice, whatever, 3 grams of fiber or more for your grains, okay, as a general rule. And so that's going to help you feel more full. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. This is the best explanation I've heard. Yes. Oh, good. Thank you, Cheryl. Okay. So I talked about the ways that you can create that calorie deficit with food. You can also create that calorie deficit with moving more. I talked about this earlier. That means working out three to 4 times a week, I would say. You do not, I need somebody to hear me. You do not have to work out 7 days a week, 6 days a week. You don't. Unless you're an athlete, like I did that in college. I played college sports. I played basketball. We worked out 6 days a week and sometimes 2 days, right? But that was for a specific purpose. For weight loss, you do not have to work out. And a matter of fact, if you're just a general person trying to be healthy, I want you to consider the fact, because especially as Black women, we tend to feel like, okay, we got to do more, we got to do more, we got to do more. And we put a lot of our value in being productive. Okay. And I want you to start thinking about rest as being just as productive as doing. How is your being just as important as doing? Because rest is actually very, very, very important to your recovery of your muscles so that you can actually see the health benefits. So I recommend, if you're just starting out, 3 times a week, right? As you get going, 4 times is great, right? But I would say take a rest day and then maybe 2 days, just take a little walk, right? Do a little 30-minute dance of Zumba or a twerk workout or something, right? Like, you don't have to go hard in the gym every single solitary day. You need your rest days so that your body can recover. And so your muscles actually have a chance of recuperating and getting stronger, getting bigger. But that only happens with good rest, y'all, and it happens with good sleep. You need sleep. Some of us, especially us moms, we're not sleeping enough. And because we're not sleeping enough, we have increased hunger hormones that make us crave sugar and fried stuff. And when we do that, we tend to eat that more often, right? And it's affecting your health journey. It's affecting your weight loss journey. Okay. What do you recommend for sugar and carbs in yogurt? Here's the thing, Paula. I would just say, because you don't have to go from 0 to 100. Whatever you're doing right now, right? Meet yourself where you're at. Whatever you're doing right now, how can you just do one step better than what you're doing right now? You don't have to go from 0 to 100. Where you don't have to go from where you're at to like the best of the best of the best yogurt. You don't. Just look at what you're eating right now. If you're eating a yogurt that has a whole bunch of like extra sugar and that syrupy fruit stuff, look at one that's like a little bit better. Maybe it doesn't have as much sugar, added sugar, and just go to that instead, right? So because your total amount of sugar for the day matters more than one serving of sugar. Like, you might have something that has a little bit more added sugar, but then the rest of your day could be fine. So it's more about your total sugar for the day and how often you actually do that. Can you explain a serving of popcorn? Nicole, give me some more information about that. What do you mean by explain a serving of popcorn? So if you look on the nutrition facts, it'll tell you what they're considering a serving. So I would go with that. So if you're saying, like, if you're putting it in MyFitnessPal, right, you could look at that specific brand and the portion size that it says on the package. Let me know if that answers your question. All right, so let's talk about when you're eating in a calorie deficit, right? That means you're giving your body less calories than it actually needs. How do you manage your hunger? Here's a few hunger hacks, right? And some of these are really good. So, eating hot foods like black coffee, green tea, soups, make you feel more satisfied. So the goal here, if you're eating in a calorie deficit, is to feel satisfied, right? I call it like taming the hunger monster. Because when we get super hungry, we're like, oh, I need to eat, right? So you just want to tame that hunger monster so you feel like, okay, I'm satisfied, I'm good. Like I don't have to keep putting stuff in my mouth. Drinking hot foods can help you to feel that satisfaction. Okay, so you want to drink black coffee, green tea, soups, or any other hot beverage. That is a great way to feel a little bit more satisfied. Eating spicy foods like red pepper flakes or chilies or other spices in your food can also help you have a feeling more of satisfaction. So, I'm not saying like only eat these things, right? But I'm just saying like adding this into your nutritious calorie deficit, right? You want to be eating calories. You don't want to be eating 1,000 calories a day. But MyFitnessPal will tell you how many calories you need. But adding these can kind of help you feel a little bit more satisfied. So drinking more water. So for my clients, I have them drinking 16 ounces of water before meals and snacks. So first things first, when you sit down to eat any meal or snack, 16 ounces of water first. Okay. And water, protein, and fiber are appetite suppressants, like natural appetite suppressants. So drink more water, eat more protein. Every meal, you want to eat protein. Every single meal and snack. So yes, if you wake up in the morning and oatmeal is like your favorite thing to eat, great. It has a little bit of protein, but I prefer you to have a real protein source. So if you're a meat eater or an egg eater, a dairy eater, have some protein at every single meal. Even if you're vegetarian, obviously your protein is going to come from plant sources. But if you're a meat eater, have some meat, have some eggs, and eat protein at every meal. Okay. Eating smaller meals every 3 to 4 hours until you're just satisfied and not stuffed. So it's really important. For me, now, if you want intermittent fast, cool. I don't like skipping meals personally. I want to eat and I want to feel satisfied. So I want you to take your day. Okay. What time do you wake up in the morning and what time do you go to bed at night? Right. So you might wake up at 6 and go to bed at 9 or 10. Take those hours, right, and divide it up and say, okay, maybe I'm going to eat my first meal at 7, right? Then calculate 3 or 4 hours after that, either have lunch or a snack, however it works out for you. Then 3 or 4 hours after that, have, another meal or a snack, right? And calculate out how many meals that would be per queue. So maybe, you may not be a person that really feels hungry to eat like 3 meals and 2 snacks, but 3 meals and 1 snack, you're good with, right? So honor your own hunger cues. Place your snacks where you feel hungry. So if you typically feel hungry, like in between lunch and dinner, place your snack there. Okay, so you want to eat small. You can eat smaller meals and just get to a satisfaction level. So if 10, you're stuffed, right? You want to eat to about a 7 or 8 to where you're satisfied. You feel like, okay, like I can stop eating now, right? So also get more sleep and manage your stress. When you are chronically stressed, when you are not eating or getting enough sleep, we increase our hunger hormone ghrelin, and it actually makes us feel more hungry. So you have to be getting enough sleep. You have to be getting enough or being able to manage your stress. And how do we manage our stress? By having some intentional time alone. I have my ladies do a power hour, which is really 10 minutes of just like being alone, being reflective. You can do some meditation, some journaling, some affirmation, some visualization, like get inspired in the morning, right? Like calm your nervous system a little bit. every day, just a little something. And then weekly, do something that makes you laugh. Like do something that makes you just feel relaxed or brings you joy in some way, right? Just as a chronic way to manage your stress. And then I mentioned this earlier, getting in more fiber. So fruits and veggies and whole grains, that 3 grams of fiber or more that I mentioned. So these are some hunger hacks. So we talked about having more hot foods like soup, black coffee, green tea, adding more spices to your foods, drinking 16 ounces of water before your meals, eating protein at every meal and snack, because it's the most important macronutrient if you want to gain muscle or lose fat. Eating smaller meals throughout the day, right? So that just means that you're taking your calorie deficit or the total calories that you need for the day. And let's say you need 1,500 calories for the day. That means, okay, I need about 500 for breakfast, 500 for lunch, and 500 for dinner, right? And then if you have a snack, you can take maybe 100 calories from each one of those meal times and say, I need, a 300 calorie snack, and then maybe I'll only do 400 calories at each meal, right? Eat more protein, have smaller meals, manage your sleep and stress, and then add more fiber in veggies and fruit. Okay, let me go back to the chat. Only because it's confusing. So, okay, hold on. All right. I struggle with fatigue. I ride an recumbent bike. What kind of exercise do you recommend for someone like me? So here's the thing. There's no one best exercise. And you're supposed to be tired. So I'm guessing you're saying like you struggle with fatigue, like chronic fatigue. Move more throughout the day. Like I was saying earlier, you can actually burn double the amount of calories if you just intentionally move throughout the day. It doesn't have to be like exercise. So maybe your exercise regimen is 3 to 4 times a week for like 15 minutes. And then you intentionally walk more often, like get your 10,000 steps in 4 times a week too. Right? Like it doesn't have to be like a hard workout. But I also recommend lifting weights. Ladies, do not sleep on lifting heavier weights, because when we talked about that calorie deficit, we talked about how many calories our body needs for the day at rest. When you build muscle, your body burns more calories at rest. So as long as you have the muscle, right? Like it's active tissue and you can burn more calories when you're not even doing anything. So that's why muscle gain is so important. What's the recommended daily sugar consumption? It's going to be different for everybody. What I would suggest, because I feel like that's kind of like diet culture to look at the stuff that you have to restrict. I pretty much never tell my clients not to eat something. I focus on getting 3 grams of fiber or more per serving in your carbohydrates. Let's get 4 to 5 servings of veggies in. Let's get half of your body weight in water in. So when you're focusing on that and your energy and your thoughts are going towards that, it naturally displaces the sugar, right? Because if you're eating fresh fruits and vegetables the amount of times that you're supposed to a day, what you're not doing is eating a whole bunch of stuff that has added sugar in it. So I always focus on abundance. I always focus on like what you should be adding. I like to add stuff before I take stuff away. Do you recommend eating nuts when hungry? Yes. So fat is another, I didn't even add that, but fat is another way that you can help to help your appetite. So with nuts, you got to be real careful, because if you look at the calorie level on nuts, because nuts have twice the amount of calories as protein and fat, or fat has twice the amount of calories as protein and carbohydrates. You can eat a handful of nuts, right? Eat a handful of nuts and then maybe have like a fruit or something like that. Because protein and fat are in the nuts that helps you to feel a little bit more satisfied, but you just got to be careful because it's easy to overeat nuts. But yes, that is a good idea. Only because it's confusing. So Popped is 1 cup, but kernels are 2 tablespoons. I would just put it in. If you look on MyFitnessPal, it should say like kernels or popped, or I would just say look on the nutrition facts of the actual popcorn. Eating popcorn now, 4 cups, air pop, no salt, 120 calories. For me, it takes the edge off of hunger. Okay, I like it. Having a huge container of hot green tea to sip throughout the day really does help me crave. With your cravings, using a straw helps me drink more water as well. I have heard a lot of clients say that drinking through a straw helps them a lot. I personally, I love water anyway, but I love only cold water. I'm not going to drink no room temperature water, which is why I keep it in my Yeti. I got to plug in my thing real quick, y'all. Okay. Nuts, you can get carried away easy. Yes. How do I determine how much protein I eat if I'm powerlifting or do a lot of strength training? With that, so when you go into MyFitnessPal, it'll give you a certain amount. But if you're a powerlifter or doing a lot of strength training, clinically, how I would do it, I would take your weight and I would convert it to kilograms, because in the medical field, we deal with the metric system. But I would take it, I would multiply it by a factor, which probably isn't the answer that you want, but I would multiply your weight in grams or kilograms by maybe 1.7 or 1.6, depending. Now, I'm not saying that y'all do that, because that's on an individual basis. But if I was determining the amount of protein that you needed for like an athlete, like a power lifter or something like that, I would do it in a more clinical way than I would just using it in MyFitnessPal. So, yeah. All right, let's see. Do you have a suggestion for a 1,300 calorie a day plan? What to eat throughout the day? Here's the thing, Francis. What kind of foods do you like? Right? So, focusing on single ingredient foods. So, for example, I give my clients a breakfast formula, right? We start out with water, some protein, some kind of fiber, and fat, right? And so you can build a meal out of that. Your protein can be 2 eggs. Your fiber item could be a whole wheat English muffin. And your fat could be a couple of slices of avocado, right? Like, it depends on what you like. I would definitely say stick with single ingredient foods at first. When you're putting stuff in MyFitnessPal, especially if you use the MyFitnessPal, it's so much easier just to put in single ingredient foods and build a meal from that. But to build a meal plan, Francis, it encompasses your own preferences. And that's why I don't give meal plans to my clients. I have them build their own from what they like, because you know better what you like than I do, right? So it encompasses what you like. Portion sizes according to how many times you're going to eat, right? Like, are you eating 3 times a day? Are you eating 3 times in a snack? So that's the process, y'all. So understanding how to eat for you have to develop. Your brain has to do the work in figuring out what kind of food you like, comparing brands to see what can fit into your plan, how many times you like to eat. Do you like to eat 3 times? Do you like to eat 4 times, right? That process of developing that skill of planning your meal needs to come from you. Because if I do it for you, that means I know how to do it. I have that skill. You don't. After your meal plan is done, then what? Right? You still don't know how to eat for yourself. Because I know a lot of you who have been dieting. Now, y'all been dieting, And then when you get off the diet, you still don't know how to actually look at your food in components and put something together. So that's why the journey is so important. And you can't really skip the journey. Okay. So I wanted to get to a couple of questions that y'all asked, and then I'm gonna get off of here. I've been on here for an hour, Lord. Okay. Let me see what questions y'all had, because y'all had some actually really, really good questions. And I know I said every time I say I'm gonna be on here 30 minutes, and I'm on here way longer than that. All right, so hopefully I did explain it in layman's terms. So Fran said, can you explain it in layman terms? We talked about calorie deficit. If your body needs 1,500 calories, you're giving it only 1,500, you have a 500 calorie deficit. And you need 3,500 calorie deficit in order to lose fat. So what is my calorie deficit and how do I find it? The easiest way that I can tell you is to do MyFitnessPal. And I have a whole tutorial in the events tab to show you how to do that. So put in your information, or you could even go to something like ifitfitsyourmacros.com. You're welcome. You can go to ifitfitsyourmacros.com and you can put in your information. It'll give you a calorie range. So what's the calorie deficit equation? There are multiple, Sharon. There are multiple equations that you could use. The easiest one is just to go to MyFitnessPal or If It Fits Your Macros. There was also another question by Ruth, which I thought was a really good question. So does macronutrient ratio matter in addition to having a calorie deficit? So I didn't even go into this, but your macros are your carbohydrates, protein, and fat. When you're counting macros, you're actually also counting calories, because your calories are made up of macros. Like that's the only way we get calories in our food, right? So if you look on the back of a label and it says something has 1 gram of carbohydrate, then you know that for that 1 gram, it's going to have 4 calories per every gram. If it has 5 grams of protein, you multiply that 5 grams times 4, and it's 20 grams of protein, or 20 calories from protein. So the calories are made up of the macros. So you can count macros, but you're really just counting calories, but being a little bit more particular about where those calories are coming from. So this is my tip for you who are dealing with macros, okay? Put your profile into MyFitnessPal. Make sure you hit your calorie goal and your protein. Your carbohydrates and your fats can fluctuate. Let it fluctuate. As long as you're within 100 calories, more or less, than your calorie goal, and you're hitting your protein goal, your fat and your carbohydrates can fluctuate. Okay. Let me see if there's any other, so I'm about to get off of here, y'all. Oh, okay. This is a good question. What about a plan to maintain your weight after losing? You don't want to gain the weight back. So here's the thing. Let's say you get to your calorie goal by being in a calorie deficit, creating that calorie deficit, and you get to your weight loss goal, right? Let's say your weight loss goal was 150 and you got to 150. Awesome. Go back into MyFitnessPal and just put maintenance. Change your profile settings to maintenance, and it'll tell you how many calories you need to maintain. Because remember I told you that if your body needs 2,000 calories to maintain its current weight and you give it less, like 1,500, your body is going to continue to eat up those extra calories that it needs from the fat. Well, after a while of doing that, you don't need 2,000 calories anymore. Now you need a little bit less. So if you've lost a significant amount of weight, even if you're not to your goal weight and you feel like you're plateauing, you may have to go in, like say you lost 20 pounds, you may have to go in and recalculate your calorie needs in order to continue to see progress, because your body no longer needs that top number. It needs something less because your body mass literally is less. So hopefully that makes sense. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you for watching. Y'all, my voice is like, my throat is dry because I don't usually talk this much in real life. I hope this has made sense. We'll get full replay. Thank you for your time. No problem, Denise. I hope this made sense. There's a lot, like there's so much that I could say. So I try to give y'all information that you can understand. But nutrition science is complex. But you don't have to know everything. Like the basics work. Get more water, drink more, or get more water, eat more veggies, eat lean protein, move more, sleep more. Like the basics work, y'all. It does. Thank you, Demina. I'm glad you explain things so well. What is your background? Some are educated but confusing. I mean, I'm a dietitian. I worked as a clinical dietitian for several years. I think I got my license in 2007. And I worked clinical. I worked in hospitals. So I like science, like, calculating tube feedings and doing intravenous feedings through TPN in the hospitals and stuff like that. So I did that for a long time. I liked that, but it wasn't like feeding my soul. What I do now, I coach women in weight loss, nutrition, and mindset. And I love that. Like I'm in my dream job. I get to coach women and I get to change the way they look at the world. And it's amazing. And I really love my job. So yeah, that's my background. And I actually like teaching too. I really like teaching. Thank you, Reba. Thanks for watching. All right, ladies, I am out. I hope that y'all come back next Monday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm live in the group every Monday. I have over 60 or 70 trainings, y'all, in the events tab. So you can go through there. I talk about mindset, fitness, nutrition. So go through there. If you are wanting coaching, I do one-on-one coaching, nutrition and mindset. We dig in, and my goal is for you to never need a coach again. We're going to change your mindset, transform your relationship with yourself and with your fitness journey. So you can click the link and see how we can connect. So thank you guys for watching. I will definitely see y'all. Oh, next Monday is Valentine's Day. So I don't know if I'm going to be here, but I'll put up a replay of something. But hopefully y'all will be enjoying your Valentine's Day. So, all right, y'all. Have a great day. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye, ladies. Thank you, Tina.